Hi, everyone. I'm excited to stake out a little bit of competition with the two levels of government that we just heard from. I'm going to make an impassioned plea that state government is really where the action happens. But first, can we just all give a huge round of applause to Michigan Eagle for putting on such a phenomenal conference? There's so much work that goes into these. And I would also love to give, if we could all give some love to your fantastic governor, Gretchen Whitmer, who is leading your state to a cleaner, greener future. We're so fortunate to have her at the helm. So as you heard, my name is Casey Katims. I'm Executive Director of the U.S. Climate Alliance. It's really a privilege to be here today. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about our coalition and the crisis that we're facing and the unique opportunity that we have to lead the path forward on climate. But I'm going to start my remarks with a bit of a personal confession, which is that you're going to hear from a lot of Michiganders today and tomorrow, and I'm not one of them. And I'm not one of you. This is actually my very first time in your state. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's shocking. I know. I should have made it much sooner. But I want to assure you that I'm learning a lot very quickly. I knew before coming that Michigan is home to some of the best and biggest lakes in the world. That part was obvious to me. I have learned that you also call your soda pop, which makes me feel right at home, because the same is true in my home state of Washington. I've learned that you eat something called bumpy cake. I don't know what to make about that one. I have learned that you can point to your hand or your mitten if you want to show someone where you're from in this state. I learned that you apparently get credit for the Wolverine, and you made it cool long before Marvel came along with their movies and their comics. I've learned that here in Detroit, defying all logic and reason, that this street is pronounced Gratiot. Did I get that right? Okay, great. And I've learned that we've got Michiganders to thank for fiber optics, genre-defining music, beer that later became ice cream, breakfast cereal as we have all come to know and love it, the definitive baby food brand, what I'm told is the only ginger ale worth drinking. I was questioning that one, and my communications director assured me that we should put that in, so thank you for proving him right. The Model T, the modern assembly line, the four-way tricolor traffic light, and the first urban freeway. So congratulations to your fantastic state for that amazing list of items. I promise that there's a point to my show and tell, which is that there's a common thread. Across all of those, you've got invention, ingenuity, innovation, and of course, grit. And it's in that same spirit that you're transforming Michigan and America before our eyes, which is why we're all here today. Corey said it earlier, and I'm going to just repeat it and steal his line. We're at an inflection point. And all of you have an opportunity once again to define and create our future. And this time, it's through climate action. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The clock is ticking. I think folks in this room are probably really familiar with this, but most of Michigan has already warmed 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Extreme heat and heavy rainstorms are becoming more frequent. We can all see and feel the daily impacts in our lives. And we know that if we're going to avert catastrophe, we have 7 years ahead of us to cut our emissions in half, which means that we really do have to take unprecedented action right now and over the next couple years. And that's the good news. The good news is, in Michigan, you have this ambitious roadmap called the My Healthy Climate Plan that is going to chart the path forward. It will slash emissions 52% by the end of the decade and achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And fortunately, you have a fierce, relentless leader in Governor Whitmer behind the wheel, both figuratively and literally. President Biden always likes to say, don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. And here in Michigan, it's really clear what you value. If you look at Governor Whitmer's most recent budget proposal, it lowers the cost of electric vehicles for families. It transitions state and local government fleets to electric. It builds electric vehicle chargers all across the state. It expands battery supply chains, and so much more. Michigan is already showing real leadership, and it's showing the rest of the country that when you cut carbon pollution, you're not just fighting climate change. You're also making communities healthier, creating good jobs, and building prosperity for everyone. And thankfully, you have incredible new legislative leaders, Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks and House Speaker Joe Tate, and with them, there's a historic opportunity right now to go even further and to do it faster with new laws and new action. And so I really hope everyone, as Corey and the mayor already said, that you see this conference as a chance to start to lock in your progress. This is our chance to make sure that future leaders in Michigan stay on course. It's how Michigan can sustain its bold climate action and stand tall regardless of what political headwinds are to come. And so I think that it's important that everyone in this room seize the moment and deliver. And I really am speaking to everyone in the room. It's an incredible room full of people from every part of our community. But it's going to take everyone, governments, community groups, advocates, NGOs, industry, young people, philanthropies, universities, scientists. It's going to take all of us to make this climate action plan a reality. And I know about collective action, and I know that there's strength in numbers, and I know what's possible when we come together, and that's why I'm here. So, as you heard, I lead the U.S. Climate Alliance. The U.S. Climate Alliance is a coalition of governors all across the United States, all committed to a more sustainable future. We got our start nearly 6 years ago. So under the prior administration, when the U.S. stepped away from the Paris Climate Agreement, it was states and territories all across the country that stepped up, including the great state of Michigan. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir, but we need to keep shouting it from the rooftops, and I'm going to say it to everyone I can. State climate leadership matters. And if anyone in this room is currently live tweeting any part of this conference, please tweet at some point, state climate leadership matters. States are the backbone when federal leadership wavers. States are the implementers when federal funding comes down from DC. States are the laboratories of innovation for new strategies and new approaches to the challenges we're facing. And states are the ones who have authority under the US Constitution to act. Today, our coalition is 25 governors strong. Thankfully, the US is back in the Paris Climate Agreement, and we're pushing forward together. And I want to just give you a sense of the scale of our impact. Our members represent about 60% of the US economy and 55% of the US population, and our reach extends into every region of the country. Our mission at the Alliance is simple: advance state-led, high-impact climate action together. And I say together because collaboration is what drives our work. It's my job, it's our job at the Alliance to make sure that what happens in Michigan, what you all are going to do here in the next few years, doesn't just stay in Michigan. We want to spread it across the country. We want to make sure that, just like Michigan, other states across the country understand the benefits of an economic development strategy based around clean energy, especially batteries and renewables. Just like Michigan, we want other states leading by example, with state buildings powered by 100% renewable energy and state lands dotted with wind and solar energy. Through our network and our megaphone, we're going to make sure that your leadership and your action can ripple across America. And the same goes for all of our states who are pushing new and innovative climate solutions. We're here, I'm here to help share and scale your success here in Michigan. We're the connective tissue. And we do that by providing a platform for states to join forces. And so I'm going to give you just one example that I'm really proud of. Last month, Michigan joined with 11 other Alliance states and the White House to launch a new federal-state Buy Clean partnership that is using the collective purchasing power of government to advance the procurement and use of low-carbon construction materials and take real meaningful action to curb emissions in the industrial sector. At the Alliance, we're facilitating the exchange of information, resources, analysis, expertise, and best practices across sectors. I want you to know that you're not alone in this. There's a whole national network here to help propel you forward if you need help. And one of my favorite things about our alliance is that it inevitably leads to a little bit of friendly competition. So I hope you're looking at what's happening in other states and you feel competitive and you makes you want to increase ambition. And I hope that other states look at what happens here in Michigan and feels competitive with you and wants to push themselves further. That's part of the magic and the secret sauce of what makes collaboration so successful. And above all, and what I'm really proud of, is that we know what we're doing works. Compared to the rest of the nation, Michigan and the other states and territories in the Alliance are already delivering more emission reductions, more economic growth, more clean energy jobs, more zero-carbon electricity, more energy savings for homes and businesses, and more resilience to the impacts and disasters caused by climate change. And it's not a coincidence that our communities are also breathing cleaner air. And we're doing all of this work while centering equity, environmental justice, and a just economic transition in our efforts, which is such a key reason why what we're doing matters and why so many of you are here today. So earlier yeah, that's great, yes. Applause is encouraged. I mentioned earlier the inflection point that we've reached, and I think it's important to acknowledge that the window to act is narrowing. Again, because you're in this room, I'm guessing that everyone has seen the latest IPCC report. We know that we have really limited time to act. But the fortunate news is that our will to act and our resources to do so have never been stronger. And that's true not just here in Michigan, but finally back in DC and across the country. And we saw this with passage of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act, which provides the single largest investment in climate action in our nation's history. And now it's up to us. The money is there. It's up to us, to each and every one of you, to me, to deliver on the promise of these new laws. Historic funding is pouring into our communities, dedicating resources to help us go further and faster. And it's up to us to put that investment to work to improve our climate, our health, and our future. And so I'm here to assure you that we're going to do our part in states across the Alliance. And I have every confidence that Michigan is not going to shy away from the challenges ahead, but you're going to continue to lead the way for the rest of the country. And the reason I say that is because strength, perseverance, and a little bit of moxie is what makes up your DNA here in Michigan. And I'm just going to point to your state seal as a way to sort of prove my point. So I looked at this earlier today, this morning as over breakfast, and a few things stood out to me. If you've not looked at it, it's worth taking a look. First, it features not one, not two, but 3 different animals. There's an eagle, an elk, and a moose. I've looked at all the other state seals. No other state comes close. Second, and more importantly, it puts the beautiful land you inhabit and the water you depend on at the very center. And I'll spare you my Latin pronunciation because it's not good, but the featured phrase translates to, if you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you. And it's no mistake that the phrase above that means, I will defend. All of you in this room already know that to acknowledge and appreciate the beauty of this state is to protect and defend it. So I hope you go about your work over the next 2 days with that long-held promise and mission in mind, knowing that the stakes are high and the rest of the country is watching. And we'll be with you every step along the way. And so to that end, I started my remarks with a confession. I want to close with a commitment. This may be my first time in Michigan, but I promise you it won't be my last. As Governor Whitmer said, let's get it done. Thank you, everyone.